Guzman having a good battle with Adrian Fernandez. Fernandez says he really likes his track and of course finished 6th here last year, having a good run with Mauricio Guzman, and right behind him also a good battle going on between Parker Johnstone and Danny Sullivan. Danny Sullivan made a pit stop very early on and went all the way to the back of the field. He's worked his way back up to 14th. He's won here once before, back in 1989, and he's actually had the pole here 3 times before. So Danny Sullivan really likes his track here at Road America. But Guzman settling in with his Pac West teammate and chasing down the Mexican Adrian Fernandez, and they are right behind Johansson as they close up that group. Andre Ribeiro, Jimmy Vasser, Bobby Rahal and Teo Fabi. There, Vasser takes a look down the outside of Bobby Rahal as they go through down into turn 5. Parker Johnstone holding off Danny Sullivan. Mauricio Guzman seems to have lost contact just a little bit with Adrian Fernandez, but now Johansson also all over Andre Ribeiro in front of him in the Honda on the Firestone tires. Stefan Johansson, of course, driving a 1994 Penske, the car that was so dominant last year. There's Ribeiro, Johansson. Johansson had one of his proteges racing in the Barber Dodge race here this weekend, Frederick Larson, who actually had 2 second-place results for him, so a good result for him. Sponsored by Stefan Johansson, trying to bring him up through the ranks, make him into an IndyCar driver. The battle between, there you see, between Tracy, Fabi, Rahal, Vasser and Ribeiro. Villeneuve has now stretched out his lead just to a couple of seconds, 1.14 seconds over Gilles de Ferran, who is about 1.5 seconds ahead of the 3rd place car, Christian Fittipaldi. This track is known as to produce first-time winners. In 1982, the first race we ever had here for the Indy cars, Hector Rabac won. In 85, it was Jacques Villeneuve's uncle. 93, Paul Tracy, and of course this guy last year. Are we going to see a new surprise winner here this year?
At Road America, celebrating its 40th anniversary, we keep an eye on Paul Tracy. It's Jacques Villeneuve that is the winner of the race. Tracy runs in 5th place, but he's got plenty of folks lined up behind him, all who would anxiously like to get around him, and this has turned into a really terrific battle.
Great fight here. Paul Tracy seems to have a bit of a handful. His car is a bit loose under power. Fabi makes a challenge around the outside. Oh, difficult move to try and pull off against Tracy.
Tracy on the inside line there still commands the corner. Now they climb the hill away from Station 5. Up off the top of the hill, maybe Teo Fabi as they come down through Hurry Downs will have another shot at it. Rahal closes on Teo.
Tracy under power seems to be loose. When you're loose, you begin to protect those rear tires and not be as aggressive standing on the power as you would normally. That might be what gives Teo Fabi that little slingshot out of those low-speed corners and forces Paul Tracy to try and protect that position, but it is great racing.
Christian Fittipaldi now runs in 3rd place, Jan Beekes.
That's right, Paul. You've seen how much he's picked up the pace since that pit stop. We checked in with David Cripps, who, of course, works for Walker Racing and calls the shots for Christian Fittipaldi. They said the car was a little bit loose, so they took some front wing out. He's very happy with the handling of that car at the moment. You've also seen Eddie Cheever off the track. We can tell you after checking with A.J. Foyt, he had an incident with Eric Bachelart, got out in the sand, stalled it, but as you can see on the racetrack, he's back underway, but well behind the leaders.
So we'll keep an eye on the leader of the race, Jacques Villeneuve, who just upped the ante on the fastest lap, cut one at 136.3 miles an hour. So at the halfway point, Jacques Villeneuve had been the leader and been it all the way, averaging 108.504 miles an hour. And he's been the leader right from the start, but the 3 cautions have been a problem here, slowing the average speed. But the good news is every time they do it, it bunches everybody back up, and we've got somebody off the course. Big time.
Danny Sullivan is one of them, and his teammate.
Oh, no. Guzman and Sullivan. Let's see how this goes. What's that Danny saying? It's you?
Well,
No.
Guzman was running 12th, and Danny Sullivan was running 14th.
And the full course caution comes out once again.
So the whole Pac West team is wiped out in one incident here. Danny Sullivan and Big Mo done for the day.
29 laps complete. Danny Sullivan's telling everybody we're both okay. And we'll slow her down again. Well, these cars in. That's Danny Sullivan's car, nose to nose with Mauricio Gugelmin's car. No indication yet of how these two got in this rather strange position. Obviously, you saw that both Danny Sullivan and Mauricio Gugelmin are fine and still friendly. But under this full course yellow, we've had some pit stops, Gary Gerald.
Jacques Villeneuve, the pace setter all afternoon long, came in and he was terrifically fast in the pits, or his crew more precisely was. 11.2 seconds for 4 tires and a full complement of fuel. Also, Paul Tracy came in, and unlike the first time he was in, no problems as he dropped the clutch. He got away cleanly. It was a good, smooth stop as well for Paul Tracy. But now, you guys are going to have to do a little quick calculating. We're not sure how many laps are complete. Looks like this has suddenly become a 3-stop race.
It looks that way. 30 laps complete at this point. And Jill DeFerrin.
Look at the problem now Paul Tracy has. Look at the right side
what
mirror.
Happened there?
It has actually turned itself all the way down, and that is a very, very uncomfortable situation for a driver because he will not know if there's somebody trying to come down his outside.
Now, during those stops, it was a pretty good battle coming out of the pits. The interesting part is that Jill DeFerrin took the lead coming out of the pits, and this happened on the stop.
What's Jimmy Vasser? Straight out and actually hits Teo Fabi on the run, trying to get position, which in fact he does. Gets away with it and passes Teo Fabi during that pit stop.
Now let's go to Jan.
Well, Paul, don't put away that calculator yet, because some people have not made pit stops and may still make pit stops under this yellow flag. We're standing in Christian Fittipaldi's pit. You can see the tires are laid out behind me. He's on the back side of the course, but he should be here shortly. So, although it's yellow and you usually want to stop on the very first lap, they think if they stop now, maybe if the caution goes long enough, they could still make this a 2-stop race.
Yeah, Derek, that tactic doesn't necessarily play on a long course like this. You really want to try and figure out how many laps of full course yellow there may in fact be, because you're picking up so much mileage when you're doing that. Jill DeFerrin stayed out, Christian Fittipaldi stayed out, Andre Ribeiro stayed out. Gary?
Well, that's a concern already for Villeneuve and Tracy. We mentioned they came in immediately under the yellow. They've got at least one more lap that they've got to try to conserve and protect fuel. And both drivers are being told exactly that from their crews. They're in the save, save, save mode. Christian Fittipaldi and those guys that hung on for the extra lap may have a very slight advantage. That could be huge, because 3 times in the years going back to 1982, the outcome of this race has been decided by somebody running out of fuel on the last lap.
So Christian Fittipaldi makes his stop from 3rd place.
But here's the big problem Fittipaldi has now as he comes down the pit lane. Watch over the pit wall. That's the pace car, and there's all its competitors beginning to stream on by, because he will now be at the back of this line, and Jacques Villeneuve is at the front, who has enough fuel to go the rest of the distance.
So we'll keep track, and he stalls it. So even more problems here for Christian Fittipaldi. And they finally get it going, and he heads out. So it made matters just a little bit worse. When we come back, we should be ready for green flag racing once again here at Road America. Yellow flags still fly here. It's working to a little bit of advantage for Emerson Fittipaldi, who had finally moved up to 8th place, and then looks like the wheel nut came off.
And in fact, the wheel is being held on by the safety device that holds on that central locking nut, and Emerson goes down through turn 5 to take a shortcut. Gary Gerald, you have more?
Yeah, that's exactly the case. It is the left front wheel that's the concern. They didn't get it secured properly. Tom Brown, Chuck Sprague, Rick Reineman, all of them working the wheel here on the wall with a safety official. Emerson will be back in, and of course a very scary situation when that happens. Fortunately for him, it's under yellow, but this is still not good. It's a tough break for Team Penske.
Boy, and the fuel game is going to be spectacular here too.
What it is, though, it's a great view of the safety feature that CART has built in that stops these center locking wheel nuts coming off all the way in the event of them coming loose. Therefore, the wheel, although it's cockeyed, it doesn't actually come off, and he can drive back to the pit lane.
Take a look at Paul Tracy, too. He's been trying to fix his mirror.
Oh,
They're running slow, relatively slow.
How big a problem this will be. There is no way that mirror is going to stay up. No way. Even if he tapes it with race tape. He's trying to screw it back in and realizes that it's a lost cause. So now his right side is blind.
Let's go to Gary.
And Emerson Fittipaldi comes in at low speed. They work with that wheel. Rick Reineman on the left front has pulled it off. They're looking to see if there's been any damage to the suspension. They brought wishbone parts out here just in case. It appears to be all right. Now they wait to get it snapped into place. No, now one of the other crew members looking at the air scoop. No debris in there. Emerson gets back on the throttle, and he's out of here, and we go to Jan Beekes.
Well, we had an opportunity to see the other Fittipaldi in here earlier as Emerson goes behind me. We looked very carefully. They made another wing change on the front of Christian Fittipaldi's car. Remember, after the first pit stop, they took some front wing out. He was really quick. They've taken more out. He could be even faster when we get back to green.
Well, on the course itself, they're going to go another lap under the full course caution. Gil de Ferran is the leader. It's the first time he has ever led an IndyCar race. 32 laps are complete, 18 to go. Fuel's going to be a real big question. And the tactics on that stop, they were remarkable.
I have to say, I don't understand the tactics yet of Gil de Ferran, because he is literally just going to give up his hard-won lead when he has to make a pit stop, and he hasn't made it under yellow.
It's taking quite some time to get Sullivan's and Gugelman's car off the course here. There's the way they're lined up as we're ready to come back to green flag, hopefully at the conclusion of this lap. Back at Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, this man, Gil de Ferran, leads an IndyCar race for the first time in his career. We should be going back to green flag racing shortly. His crew is laid out for him, though, so that he could get some tires and fuel, and that makes things interesting as well. You and Russ Thompson, our statistician, are just trying to do all of the figuring. Will these guys make it to the end of the race?
Obviously, at Jim Hall's team, we're not confident that Gil de Ferran, under racing conditions, could do more than 18 laps, whereas Jacques Villeneuve's crew believes he can. Now what's going to happen? Exactly what we saw happen to Christian Fittipaldi earlier. He is going to have to peel off into the pit lane, and the line of cars will begin to sail by him. Now, most of those cars in line, except for Stefan Johansson, who's running third, have all made their second pit stop. So it is touch and go now whether all those cars who made the second pit stop can in fact go all the way if it stays green for the rest of this race.
So de Ferran will come off, make his stop. That'll make Jacques Villeneuve the winner, the leader of the race. Let's not be premature here, Paul. The leader of the race as they come to the green flag. He'll be followed by Stefan Johansson, assuming that Stefan doesn't head into the pits because it's been 14 laps since he stopped as well. Then Raul Boesel, and then Paul Tracy. They're going to give Emerson Fittipaldi, you see him right there behind de Ferran, a stop-and-go penalty. He apparently ran over a hose on his way into the pits. There goes de Ferran off. There goes Fittipaldi, though this isn't a time that he could take the stop-and-go. And Stefan Johansson also headed into the pits as well. So let's watch. And this may have been a good move. They say one more lap. So at least he's not going to lose racing time here, Jan Beekes.
Paul, this may be a great move. They were expecting to come in on the lap that they were going to go green. Now they're under a yellow flag, full course caution. I saw one of the Ganassi cars come in also. They are not going to make any changes on this car. He's going to lose a lot of track position, but as you said, it's still yellow. He can at least catch up to the rear of the field. Remember, no clutch.